So before I dye this dress and turn it in from a bridal chic to an emerald green Christmas dress, I thought I'd film this video. Hello, I'm Charlotte and this is Books and Bargains. Today I'm coming to you with my top 10 romances of 2022 and I am really excited about all of these. I read some of them earlier on in the year and I would say they're not in any particular order until we get to the kind of top 5 to top 3. Bar number 1, because number 1 I have not stopped thinking about this year. These are a mixture. I was going to say actually that these are a mixture from your kind of soft fade to black romances to super steamy things. But I think actually the main top 10, I've only talked about more fade to black romance. I haven't read a lot of steamy stuff this year, and I haven't read a lot of steamy stuff that I have fully loved and hasn't made me cringe. So I would say there's probably some more steamy books in my kind of top 15 to 20, but yeah, this one is exclusively romance. Check back a week, you will have already seen my top 10 adult non-romances of the year. Like it says on the tin, all these books have a romance, all the other books don't, I think. I just wanted to give a special mention to 2 books before I go into this, just because I couldn't not talk about these. I don't tend to include Christmas books in my top 10 of the year because I save them. So next December you will get a kind of all my favourite Christmas books that are still on my TBR or read lists. I'm really sorry if I'm rambling today. It has taken a lot of brain power to get myself looking presentable, but I just needed to feel pretty today. So anyway, special mentions I want to give to Claire Lydon for both Christmas in Mistletoe, and I am currently reading another Christmas one of hers. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. I read a Claire Lydon book earlier in the year and I told you that I liked it, but a lot of the kind of diet culture-y references in it really had me sitting on the fence with it. But the main bulk of the story and the way it was written, I really enjoyed. It's sapphic, it's British, it's a lesbian romance. Of course I'm going to love it. Although I say that, there have been some stinkers that I've read as well. Anyway, going off topic, Claire Lydon came into my life this year and I said in that video that I was going to give her another go with some of her later books, and both Christmas in Mistletoe and her latest book, which I want to say is called The Christmas Catch, I'll put a picture here, have both been fantastic. This one was a 4.5 star, only losing half a star for a few little diet culture references, and so far it looks like the other book is going the same way. And my second highly commended is Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley-Jones. I have gone on and on and on about this book. This has the best bisexual rep I have ever read in a novel. It happens to also be the most British Christmas descriptions I have ever read. There is a bookshop, and this is the Illumicrate Afterlight edition, which I went out of my way to find and buy because I loved it that much. I needed a hardback. Again, any of you that have been here any amount of time will know that I don't normally buy hardbacks, so you know, girl, love this book. And actually, I don't know if this is just the blurb on here or if this is the blurb on all of them, but it says, it is literally, I love blurbs that are like 3 lines. It says, all she has to do is pretend to be Christopher's girlfriend. All she has to do is survive Christmas. All she has to do is not fall for his sister. This has disability representation as well. And 100% don't think I could fault this book. Our main character is plus size. Lizzie Huxley-Jones just really hit the ball out of the park with this one. And I kind of feel sorry for any more queer Christmas romances that try and live up to this, because I'm always going to be comparing it to this one. So if I didn't already say, that is 5-star, absolute favourite book of the year, romance-wise. But like I say, I don't tend to include Christmas books in this because I kind of feel like it's unfair to the rest of the books, because I get so into the Christmas spirit through my books that nothing could ever live up to it. But yeah, this is the only one. This and the one that I'm going to tell you is number one. Share that joint spot for a Christmas and a non-Christmas. So without further ado, let us start with the top 10. So in 10th place is The Start of Something by Miranda Dickinson. I love Miranda Dickinson's writing, and I really loved a couple of years ago Our Story. I haven't read any more from her. These are the only two. I am trying to, where possible, with my favourite, I'm not going to use the word chick lit, but you know what I mean, my kind of romance fiction, trying not to read backlist books unless I hear something really good about them, because I know that back in, say, 10 years ago, all the characters in all of women's fiction were on some kind of diet, and I don't subscribe to that life. However, this book, I really, really enjoyed this one. Again, there were a few sticking points in the plot that I wasn't too keen on, but basically this really reminded me of lockdown. It wasn't specifically set during lockdown, but I presume that's where the author's inspiration came from. We had a gentleman, Lachlan, love the name Lachlan. So Lachlan has had an injury, and we know that something has happened to cause this injury. He's having physiotherapy. He's a bit of a grumpy bloke, and he is in his flat looking out across the window, and the flat opposite him, he sees somebody moving in, and that is Bethan, and she is Sunshine. So this is trope grumpy Sunshine, tick. And they basically start writing each other notes across the window, and actually I wasn't overly keen on their romance. I loved both of their individual stories and I loved their friendship, but I think I would have preferred this not to have been a romance, but then I guess it wouldn't be on my romances of the year list. But yeah, double points for this one, that he has a dog and a cat called Bert and Ernie. And yeah, there we go. What else can I say about that one? I've just realised that I'm kind of going theme of this book here. That wasn't planned. Then at number 9, we have The Cornish Cream Tea Bus by Cressida McLaughlin. I also read this year the Cornish Cream Tea Summer and the Cornish Cream Tea Christmas, and enjoyed both of those. But basically, our main character in this one, Charlie, inherits a vintage route master when her uncle Hal passes away, called Bertie. And she doesn't really know what to do with it. She thinks that she's going to use it as a catering truck. She has this idea to do that. And then a kind of disaster happens at the beginning, and she decides that maybe that isn't for her. So she goes to stay with her friend Juliet for a few weeks in Cornwall, and it ends up becoming a working holiday. I really, really loved the way that she didn't just fit seamlessly into the community. There was a bit of friction. There is an older woman who isn't keen on newcomers coming and setting up businesses, etc. And I really enjoyed this, and I really, really enjoy the relationship in this. And that is a theme that keeps going. I've just started reading The Cornish Cream Tea Wedding, which, yeah, I think this is going to be one of those series that is an insta-buy series for me from now on. A book that I think has had mixed reviews this year, but I really enjoyed, is Hex Appeal by Kate Johnson. So I just read this in October. I read it via NetGalley and immediately went out and bought myself a copy. I'm trying to do that more, read books digitally first and only buy new ones that I really enjoyed. This is, well, it says, the tagline is, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus. Now, I've never watched Gilmore Girls, which I know a lot of you are going to unsubscribe to me now, because that seems to be a personality type that I should love. but I've tried a few times and just can't get into it. But this gave me grown-up Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibes. What's she called? Essie Winterscale lives in a huge and ever-changing house in the village of Goodwinter, and nobody's supposed to remember their house. They've lived there for years, and one day Josh turns up as their new landlord and comes to collect the rent, and he remembers the house, which he's not supposed to, and a lot of weird and wonderful things happen, and this is going to be a series, and I have already pre-ordered the second book. Talking about Insta buy series, coming in at number 7 is The Cherry Tree Cafe by Heidi Swain. You know on this channel that I am a big Heidi Swain fangirl, and lots of people tend to ask me where to start with Heidi Swain. I'd go to the debut. I think that The Cherry Tree Cafe is peak Heidi Swain. I absolutely loved it. I think it absolutely captures the essence of what a Heidi Swain book is about, and I think if you read this one and don't enjoy it, you probably won't enjoy any of the others. We start this one, I've said before that Heidi Swain knows how to write these bad men. Our main character Lizzie is convinced that her partner is about to propose to her, and actually he has another thing coming. So her best friend Gemma puts her up in the Cherry Tree Cafe, and things go from there. I don't remember an awful lot of this one. This was read really early on in the year, and I have since read, I think I've read up to book 7 in this series this year, and I mean the whole series I'm really enjoying, but wanted to put the original on here because yeah, I think that's where you should start. And I will always love a Heidi Swain. Book number 6 is a book that I've read recently, and that is The Little Cafe in Copenhagen by Julie Kaplan. This book had everything that I love in a fluffy romance. This had, I think actually, I say fluffy romance. I think this one went a little bit less fade to black than a lot of them do, but nowhere up there, maybe a 2 on the chilly scale. But basically our main character is working for this firm and is overruled for a promotion again when they have a project come in to, basically there is a client who wants to set up a store in London with the hygge feel, and they kind of just pass it off to our main character because nobody really trusts her, and they don't give her credit for what she can do, and so she organises this press trip to Copenhagen to prove what she can do. But actually the cast of characters through this are all so interesting. None of them are two-dimensional. I could read a story about any of the characters in this again. I think it was just wonderful, and props to it as well for having a blogger character that wasn't kind of looked down on and seen as other to the journalists, because I've not seen that in a book before. Yes, really enjoyed that one. The descriptions of food in this and the descriptions of Copenhagen, I have never been, but it is now firmly on my bucket list. So into the top 5, I might have just said that I recommend people start with Heidi Swain's Cherry Tree Cafe, and I do still agree that that is the original and the best. But if you want to start with a series that has only at this moment got 2 books out, then definitely go with The Secret Seaside Escape. I think I love this one even more because I love seaside towns, and this was no exception. Again, all the kind of plus points for things that I want in a book. I want great food descriptions. I want fun characters. I want not too much angst. And I think, I don't know whether it's an anxiety thing, but I love Heidi Swain because all of her books kind of follow the same formula and I know what I'm getting. So when my brain just needs some soothing, this is the place that I go. So in the theme of a Heidi Swain, our main character Tess is feeling really weighed down by a high pressure job, and she decides to run away and go back to Weymouth where she spent summers as a child. She falls in love with our barman Sam, and things go from there. And number 4, Beth Reekles was a new to me author last year when I read It Won't Be Christmas Without You. So when I was offered a proof of Love Locked Down, I had to pick it up, and I really enjoyed this one. I tried to read Last Christmas. I think it was called The Gifts or Gift by, I can't remember who it's by, but if I find it I'll put a picture here, and I really couldn't get into that. Whereas this, It's interlinking stories. And if you've ever seen the film Valentine's Day, and I think New Year's Eve is the same, this book really, really gave me vibes of that. It was set in lockdown, as the title would suggest, and this is the proof copy, so I'll put what the finished copy looks like here. But there are 5 couples, all in different stages of relationships, who some get trapped together when the building goes into lockdown, some get trapped apart, but all of their stories kind of intertwine in some way. And it was just such a fantastic read. I would love to see kind of a sequel to this, following the couples as they go on in life. But yeah, that definitely firmly comes in at number 4 on the list. And now on to my top 3. I think that this one may cause some controversy because I have seen a lot of romance YouTubers hate this book and say the couple had no chemistry. Yeah, I loved it. And that is You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is only the second Emily Henry I've read. I enjoyed this one a lot more than Beach Read. And I enjoyed Beach Read, but I think this one was the best. I mean, it's set over 12 summers ago when Poppy and Alex meet, and we kind of have present day and then we flip back to summers in the past. And I loved it. Yes, there was some miscommunication in this one. If you have read One Day in December by Josie Silver, I loved that one as well. I love these ones that span years and years. And I think back to last year, one of my favourite books was Eva Carter's How to Save a Life, which again span years. And I just like seeing the character growth. And yes, at times in this book, I thought, okay, get a grip, just talk to each other. But their bond was so strong that everything I saw happen, I just wanted it to work out well for them. I just loved them both, even though I was like, just talk to each other. I don't know, like generally miscommunication in books would be a no for me, but this one I absolutely loved. And I can't remember what the ending was, but I remember sobbing. So yeah, that is definitely staying. All these books are staying and being put on my shelf to reread. Generally, books that they're generally 4-star or less, I have to think about. If I have a 5 or a 4.5, it's staying. I am making a commitment to only keep books that I want to reread, but I'm going to put them, so like these will go away now for the whole year next year. I won't reread them, and then they'll come back into circulation just so that I can have that distance and go again. But yeah, absolutely bloody loved that one. Book number 2 comes really out of left field here, and this one sat in the number 1 spot for ages. And I'd say between the two of these, on any given day, one could go to top, one could go to bottom. And that is Lost for Words by Stephanie Butland. And I almost don't want to class this as a romance because it is so much more. So if romance is not your thing, but you like, I'd say Eleanor Oliphant, but set within a bookshop with a bookseller, I think that you would love this one. I picked this up in a charity shop because of the cover. This was a total cover buy. And then I saw on NetGalley that there was a sequel to this coming out, which I requested, got permission to, and then thought, well, I better read the first one then. And it absolutely blew me away. It's really hard hitting at points. I think from the cover, I was expecting a really fluffy book, and it was nowhere near that. Like I say, Eleanor Oliphant meets The Bookish Life of Nina Hill, maybe. So we're following Loveday, and all I had to read on this to pick it up was, Loveday Cardew prefers books to people. If you look carefully, you might glimpse the first lines of the novel she loves most tattooed on her skin. But there are some things that Loveday will never show you. And again, we go back to the past in this one and see the circumstances that made Loveday who she was and how she got into these situations. But also at the same time, it's just such a gorgeous story showing really the best and worst of humanity. And oh, I just flipping love this book. What can I say? Highly, highly commended. And if you ask me some days, this would be number 1. If you ask me on other days, it's number 2, but it is right up there. And so, drum roll please. my top book of 2022 romance readers edition has to be The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. Now, I will preface this. I started reading this in Corfu, got a couple of chapters in, and then put it down, and then didn't pick it up again for months. And then, so basically, I was told that this is like a book version of The Other Woman, which is my favourite movie, and it wasn't giving me that vibes at first, which I think is what kind of put me off it. However, once I really got going into it, I fell so in love with the three characters that we're following. So basically we're following three characters. I can't remember their names. I think one's Siobhan, Miranda and Jane. So we have a fake dating trope with Jane, and the other two, they're all seeing this same guy basically. Again, if I say to you, like the other with the like Love Lockdown, that this is a kind of three stories that are obviously all intertwined, they're all stood up by the same man, three women, 3 dates, one missing man, and it really just goes from there. I have heard that there is this kind of new emerging genre like this that are kind of mystery romances, so that like there's a mystery element to it, which I've heard The Man Who Didn't Call by Rosie Walsh fits into that, which I have on my TBR and haven't read it. But the reason that this book has gone to number one is, as much as I loved all the other books on this list, I would say only this one and number two are ones that I keep thinking about and I keep wanting to reread, and I keep just thinking, if I read it again, what am I going to see that I missed out on the first time? And yeah, the fact that I cannot stop thinking about this book means that it had to be number one. So there you have it. They are my top 10 romances of the year. Have you read any of these, and what do you think of them? As you are watching this, I'm having a little bit of a social media hibernation just for a week or so, and I will be back with vlogs soon. Let me know down below what you thought of these books. Especially, I'd love to know if you hated any of these books. I love hearing other sides of the coin on my favourite books. If you can recommend me any books that you think I will love based on this, feel free to do so. And until next time, look after yourselves. Bye.